You're good.
Kapag chicken na manat. You found it. Just kidding. Can we help you?
I got it. Bye. Last slip ones in.
You stepped in through, Daddy.
Yeah, I.
Now you're scraping on the floor.
You're hung up on the other box, honey. Hey, come on. Oopsie.
Oh, this is good. It's in alignment like that. All right, if you want to keep it for 5, you know.
Go grab one of those boxes on the front porch.
This is kind of rich.
Might not. Can it adjust?
I don't need more. All right.
That's what's for dinner, Daddy.
What?
Chili.
Chili's for dinner?
Yep.
That is awesome. You love chili. You like chili?
Yep. Oh, chili. I'm hungry for chili.
Just vertical, going to just local. Morning, friends. Today we are headed off to the mountains again. This time we're heading up towards Burnsville, North Carolina, and to a small town called Bakersville. We are delivering some grow towers to a business there. It's a small local grocer called Just Local. As you can imagine, they sell Just Local. Just Local was nearly taken out of business, and what we want to do is keep their store open because the area lost its other grocery store. The only other place to get groceries up there is at Walmart on the other side of the county. We all know what kind of food is sold at Walmart. And this store supports and buys food from multiple farmers. And I know it's not, a huge way, but it is kind of a community thing. These small farmers depend on some of these small stores to buy their foods. It's part of the market. It's an important part of the market. And I'm hoping, that more and more people will be encouraged to buy local foods. So we're going to take these grow towers up there. And I just want to explain real quick why we're doing grow towers. So during the storm, Hurricane Helene, Just Local lost its greenhouse, and they lost the place where the greenhouse goes. About a month after the storm, the lady who owned the land where the greenhouse was passed away. So we couldn't replace their greenhouse. Part of the way that they make their profit margin is by growing some of the vegetables. They buy a lot of meats, they buy a lot of cheeses, they buy a lot of spices, they buy a lot of specialty vegetables from the local farmers, but they also depended on their greenhouse for some lettuces and things that they need for their fresh salads. They also make a lot of fresh food. So in talking with her, we were like, all right, well, what if we put grow towers in your store? And that way, when people come to buy local foods, they're getting the freshest foods right there from the store. Some of your lettuces in their salad grown right there in the store. And everybody thought it was a great idea, but the conversation then turned to how do we get enough production off of these grow towers?
I'm Connor Tidd, co-founder and CEO at Just Vertical, and this is something I've been passionate about ever since we started Just Vertical in 2017. We had a vision that we could make indoor growing and growing your own food at home affordable and profitable for everyone.
So we reached out to Just Vertical, which is a company in Canada. We were a little worried about tariffs as these things were going through customs, but we got them here. And we said, hey, look, we need some commercial grow towers. You guys make some amazing grow towers. Can we work out a deal? And we were able to work out a deal with them. We're not in the business of asking people for free things because we have donations. We don't want to put our other farming friends and people supporting the agricultural industry out of business trying to support what we're trying to do. So we worked out a deal with them, and it was a fantastic deal. We got 2 grow towers, and that's what we'll be taking there today. And these things are amazing, guys. They come with all the parts, everything you need to get started growing. Some really cool towers. So I'm pretty excited to make this delivery today, and I'm excited to take you guys along for the ride.
Wow.
So there's been a long history of the window painting, but that one was saved from the last iteration, which showed everything that we had. I just haven't had time to go back to it to show what we now have.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So my name is Megan Bell. We are at Just Local Market in Bakersville, North Carolina, which is in the county of Mitchell, not far from the border of Tennessee. It had flooded the day before, so we'd already had significant amount of water, so the main corridor of town, which is where a river runs through, it had actually gone up over the road to the adjoining sidewalk. We flood. We know this. And I am usually a very neurotic human being when it comes to that. So my alarm bells were on, but it wasn't, the 5-alarm fire bells. It was okay, yeah, it's gonna flood. I should have my car at high ground.
Yeah.
It's going to be business as usual. It was not. So when we woke up in the morning, which was actually before the hurricane really hit, we already had trees uprooting. So basically things were so saturated that things were just falling. Then the real party started. So we actually had mini tornadoes. So there's huge tracts of land that basically all of the trees are down like matchsticks, and it's not wind. You can see that basically there was a forceful demolition point that came through. So that sort of skipped and scattered and took out what it will. Then of course we had, I don't even remember how many inches of rain we had, 30 something over 36 hours. I've slept since then, and I think I'm trying to block part of it out. But yes, we had an insane amount of water, and the winds, and the saturation. I live 12 minutes from here, and we actually couldn't leave. After the storm stopped, about 8 hours later, our road just collapsed and washed out. So there was a giant fissure, it just all went. And then the other direction, so everything is switchbacks going across the mountain, and has banks of trees. So it took 3 days for my community plus the community beyond to work towards each other to create a single lane for us to be able to get out. But meanwhile, we had landslides. Like, we were missing large chunks of the path. So it took us 3 days, I think, to get here. Our whole power grid was down. Anything that uses traditional infrastructure didn't have, like, there was no water, there was no sewer, there was no electricity, there was no internet. Our internet towers didn't work for 3 weeks, maybe. So we were completely cut off. So didn't necessarily know that the same event had trashed Asheville or Unicoi in Tennessee. Had no idea, because we were completely cut off, and I think we're probably the community that was cut off the most and the longest. So it usually takes me 12 minutes to get to Bakersville from my house. It took us well over 2 hours because of the down trees, washed out roads. We actually had to drive into the next county and cut over and come up. When we got here, we have freezers and refrigerators, and it was right before leaf season, so I had stocked up hard for that window of time, because leaf season is actually really big around here. Call me nuts, because we have beautiful terrain. So that is actually one of the most important windows for retail in general. So we were able to salvage a good portion of the stuff we had left, but there was no power here. There's no power at my house. So we loaded up 3 giant coffin coolers with everything that was salvageable and drove it to basically a resource center that was just starting. And they directed us first to a fire station and then to a church. The church had a generator running that was powering their commercial refrigeration units. So we loaded them up, and they basically took all of that stock and either put it towards community meals or individuals. And then I brought home, they wouldn't take the meat because it had thawed. So my neighborhood ate like kings. But of course, that was the same time that everybody else's freezers were about to go. And I grilled for 2 days. We have a fire station at the end of our road, which fire stations basically became like the life centers. So we started getting donations. We started seeing like the army. We started seeing folks who were doing search and rescue looking for bodies along the river. We got a Starlink so we could finally communicate. That day when we drove in, our only option was to drive to Little Switzerland, which is at the Mitchell County McDowell line, right over the parkway. And that was the only spot that was open enough to have any cell signal. And there was hundreds of people there. It was a great way to know who was okay. Yeah. I saw a lot of the community members I cared about and heard about others. But that was pretty surreal. And that was the first time I got to talk to my family. So the main corridor of town follows, it's really a creek, but it became a giant lake. So Bakersville itself is a literal 1 mile radius and has 450 adult residents within it. We're also the county seat. And that particular river flooded in the late 90s and took out a huge amount of infrastructure at that point. So this is the last remaining part of downtown and is a sum total of 10 storefronts. We've been fairly art-based historically because we have a relationship to Penland School of Craft. So we have the greatest concentration of working craftspeople in North America throughout this whole region, not just the county, but as a whole. So the arts are very, very important. We already had things closing before. So with kind of the economic downturn post-COVID, like we had that wonderful phase where everyone was doing like day trips and had expendable income. Then there was the next year, which was the support local. And then that had all sort of dwindled off. So in general, we weren't having a great year economically, period. And there's a lot of growth happening in other areas that I think was sort of filtering some of the traffic that we might have seen otherwise. So yeah, I wasn't feeling good about things right before the storm. So I was feeling a lot worse because we had so many buildings through that corridor that were completely demolished. You know, my artisan friends, they're dependent on a number of different, you know, big events. Like there's the Spruce Pine Potters Market, there's the Toe River Arts Studio Tour. So a bunch of the things that support them had been cut out because of Helene. So it's like my pool of people, like, and no one's okay. Like, of all the things, supporting local food is probably not the priority to the vast majority of people. They just want to eat. Like, we ate canned food. Like, the first time I ate a salad after the storm, I think I cried. Like, like there was nothing. But meanwhile, some of the things that sort of turned my opinion into thinking that this really is important is, like, we lost our grocery store. Like, so now the only option regionally is Walmart, and that's in the other end of the county. This is the middle of the county, and the only other things we have around us are Dollar Generals. So, like, there is nothing better than what people were getting through food donations as far as what's immediately available. Now, I do understand that not everybody can afford it, but also I can't do what I used to do. Like, I worked with at least 30 farms within our immediate, like, 2 counties. And anyone who was growing food, like, they lost all their fall crops. So they didn't have anything for winter. Winter got really cold. Then we have a large chunk of them that lost significant amounts of their production land. So even for them to rebuild is going to take many, many, many years. But I want to be here when they get there. Like, I also lost my own ability to produce crops. So, like, I couldn't even punt to sort of figure out a way to get us through in the meantime, because I don't have any infrastructure left. So we're doing the best with what is available. Thankfully, folks have been kind of very patient and understanding and get why I can't just refill all of the things right now. Like, I'm still actually trying to work on a mechanism to get us produce, because I don't have the pool of people I did before. And those who survived are going to stay within the market system where they've already, you know, they have a comfort and they can basically tailor what they grow this year to that. And so waiting for surplus, it can happen, but I'm not going to bet the farm on it.
Just Vertical is, when I looked them up, I was looking for a commercial system that would look good in a store like this, that would allow you to grow a decent number of plants. I mean, I know it's not going to replace what you had, but how does a system like that benefit you? And obviously you staying open benefits local farms that you're buying off of and the community for local foods.
Well, one thing, so I've been farming here for, I guess it's about 14 years now. Winter has changed. I didn't always grow in a greenhouse, but I've been growing within a protected structure for at least 12 years of that time. We spike. So, like, today it's 65 degrees. Last week it was 16. When you are growing in an enclosed space, like, plants don't know. Like, they think it's spring, and you can't keep replanting because you're depending on basically long-term harvest crops like kale or collards, things that can survive the winter, but they want to bolt like as soon as it gets warm. So I was already at sort of a weird point as trying to navigate winter, and as strange as it may seem, we don't have a lot of folks who utilize season extension, at least within this end. There's a couple hoop houses, but those are destroyed. So it's like we're starting from scratch, and we've always had gaps in our production cycle. Like, so nobody has figured out how to grow great greens in August that hasn't already sold them out at market. So like, there's none of those available to me. Like, there's just lots of little idiosyncrasies. Like, so my one farm who does season extension, who's actually okay, as soon as it dips down, like, his row cover isn't good enough. So like, he's out usually the end of December to March, thereabouts. So that's a whole nother gap. And then the only other greenhouse person I have, her greenhouse is about this big. She fits a lot in there, but you know, like, it takes a lot to feed a whole community of people. So the exciting part about this is it's like 300, almost 300 plant sites.
Yeah.
So, and the ability to sort of plug and play. So like, I can do repeat harvests of some things, and I can replace things if I actually, you know, use that whole plant. So that will keep us in salad mix through seasons where we wouldn't have any of that. And it also basically allows me to demonstrate our food system. Because we have a kitchen here, I can be like, so the lettuce that you ate was grown right there. Like, you cannot get more local than that. And the reason why we need to grow lettuces right here is because our farms are severely damaged and need as much love and support as you can rally around them, and to forgive them for not having everything that you want all the time. Just in general, one of my biggest takeaways with COVID was how important a localized food economy really is. So the store started September of 2019. So by January, you know, it had all started. And folks, I think, don't necessarily remember what they could and couldn't get. It's interesting what people have sort of flushed out of their memories. But there was the meat crisis, which apparently, yeah, I'm the only one who remembers this thing. So when there was kind of that bottleneck of, there weren't the workers to kill the animals, to process the animals, to transport the animals, to bring them from, you know, Texas to Wyoming to Florida to Connecticut. Like, we are way too dependent on this kind of giant umbrella system when, if we really think about it and try, all of those things, like, okay, I'm not going to grow bananas here, but like, you can keep it so that you have a protected network, like that at least the core things that you need to survive can be produced no matter where you live. But the only way those things are survive is if you support them. And you don't know when you're going to need them again, but if they're not there, what are you going to do? Like, for real. Like, you can't turn around and just put in a garden in your apartment. You like, there's a lot of parts of our food access that I think aren't as well understood as I would prefer them to be. And actually, one of the things I love most about my job is being able to educate people about food, but the systems really do matter. Like, there's way too many variables, and if one thing falls out of place, it's like dominoes, like the whole thing collapses. Like, so for instance, my neighbor raised, like, he finished cattle. So he would get them at 600 pounds and he would sell them at 1,200 pounds. So when the meat crisis happened and all the processing plants shut down, he was out like an entire herd of cattle because they had grown too large for him to plug them back into that system. So, like, how we approach all of it can definitely use help and insight. Like, and the only way we can do that is to focus back in on the things that matter. Because one day, yeah, you'll need your neighbor that farms. You'll need that chicken lady down the road because eggs are $14 or whatever it may be. Like, life is not predictable.
Tilt it towards me and
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe kind of just lift a little bit. Can you lift a little bit?
yeah.
There we go.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's actually like a rubber.
Grip it again. So, starter trays.
Oh no, they give us seeds. So there is arugula and basil. I'm guessing there is way more than that. But don't talk about plug and play. So Genoese, chives, choy, dill, which is interesting because I've not seen the dill this hydroponic friendly. Peppermint, mustards, 502, 03 and 4 with timers to work. So, timers. Okay.
This is some sort of pump.
Yeah.
You can, but they don't leave anything else.
Well, and I'm guessing that might be how we empty it.
Yeah, it looks like they just hang.
Since the impact of the storm, Meet My Neighbor Productions volunteers have been in the field, cleaning up debris, delivering donations, and serving rural communities in any way we can. Now you have a chance to support our efforts.
The community has poured in so much. It's just been unbelievable to see the effort in our community.
Thank you so much for the support and the love and the prayers and all you're doing. And if you've sent support and supplies, this is my heartfelt thank you to all of you. We love you, we needed you, and you showed up. Thank you.
Take action now and click the link below this video.